I dispatched my units to a prowler in a marijuana grow. The actual truth was he was growing for the cartel. My guys walked into an ambush. I'm Deborah Green. I am a retired dispatcher with 28 years as dispatching. Worst night of my life. And I'm listening to the actual gunfire on the radio. Right after that, I started showing symptoms of PTSD.
Did you ever see or experience miracles in that job?
Yes. Unexplainable stuff.
What is your mission now?
To try to reach out to dispatchers and actually anybody that's a first responder to let them know that they're not alone with their mental health issues.
So you're just going call to call,
Correct.
Interacting with people that are having one of the worst moments of their life.
Correct.
What did that teach you about human nature? I cannot put words in how much respect I have for you and gratitude for that service that you did. If you wouldn't mind introducing yourself, explaining what you did, and...
Oh my gosh. Okay. I'm Deborah Green. I am a retired dispatcher with 28 years as dispatching. Prior to that, I was in the California National Guard. Served as a communications specialist, then a military police officer. Then my one and only deployment was to the LA riots in 1992.
Oh boy. Was that the Rodney King
That
riot?
was the Rodney King.
Oh boy.
Yes. That was
What was that
interesting to say the least.
And you were deployed as a National Guard to
Yes.
that? What was that experience like?
So at the time, so in National Guard, you only do like 1 weekend a month, 2 weeks a year kind of thing. So I was going through this dispatch academy with Sacramento Police Department at the time. And, you know, one thing, we're watching the news one afternoon and I'm going, oh, this isn't good. I think I might be deploying soon. And the next afternoon, no, it wasn't even a couple hours. It wasn't even the end of the day there. I got a call at where I was training at and told to go home and pack my bags and be ready to deploy the next day.
How did you feel about that?
It was scary.
Yeah,
I mean,
of
you're
course.
watching on the news and you're watching all this stuff happen and you're kind of going, you have a sort of disassociation when you see it on TV.
Yes.
I mean, you're empathetic to what's going on, but you're not in it, so you don't understand it. And so going down there was quite the education for me.
Seeing that kind of behavior in person. Yeah.
Yeah. And so we rolled into Long Beach when we got there. And there was a working fire and active looting going on in just about every block in the commercial district. And then after Long Beach, we went to Parker Center, which at the time was headquarters for LAPD. And we did the security for the LAPD.
Okay. So your job was to go in and with like the shields and stuff and butt the rioters back, and or were you in
We never
communications?
really did that. We were more
Okay.
security, making sure nobody was coming in that wasn't supposed to be in the area.
Okay.
And then because I was going through Dispatch Academy and had been communications prior to being military police, they elected me to be the company dispatcher while we were there.
Can you explain what the dispatch job is? So a call comes in, you answer. What happens after that? What is the flow of the call? Do you stay on forever? If you could just explain to people what your job is.
So when you call the police department or 911, you have somebody that answers the phone. We refer to them as a call taker.
Okay.
That person takes the information and enters it into CAD, which is computer-aided dispatch. So you have like a form that you're entering your information into, and codes that tell the radio dispatcher who gets the call after what priority and what type of call it is.
How many codes are there about?
Oh gosh, there was more than 100 in our department.
And you have to know them all?
You have
like
to
that?
know them all pretty much.
Well, yeah, I bet. Wow.
You know, so you have like a 415, which is a disturbance. So you would have a 415 verbal in progress, a verbal report, verbal just occurred, you know, all sorts of variations of that, and each has its own priority as to what gets dispatched first. Yeah.
Wow. Okay, so they come in, they make the call and you have to decide real quick what code, and based on the code, it goes to that.
It goes,
first
and based
responder?
on the area where it's at, goes to a specific dispatcher depending on what agency you work for. So I worked for El Dorado County. We had 2 radio dispatchers, one for South Lake Tahoe, and then one for what we referred to as West Slope, which was everything west of Twin Bridges to Sacramento County line, which is a very big area.
Yeah, that is.
But within that, you had various zones and areas that you would dispatch, certain deputies to. So you would have a deputy that worked, say, Zone 4, and a couple that worked Zone 2. And so depending on which area it was, you sent those deputies to
Okay,
it.
that makes sense. And how many calls were coming in a shift?
So at SAC PD,
Probably a lot.
my record was 100 calls in an 8-hour shift that were entered. That doesn't mean that I actually answered.
So you answered more,
I
but you
answered
didn't have
more
to enter.
that I
Holy
didn't have to enter.
smokes. So you're just going call to call, interacting with people that are having one of the worst moments of their life.
Correct.
What did that teach you about human nature?
That Sacramento wasn't the place that I thought it was.
Yeah, yeah.
You definitely see the seedy underside of it, but not visually, if that makes any sense at all, because I'm listening. So my skills were all verbal and auditory.
Do you have any responsibility, or have you been trained on like calming them down and stuff? Are there talk tracks you
kind
use
of get that training
on the job training?
on the it's actually on the job training.
Of course.
You can't go to college for this job. You can be taught to type, you can be taught to ask questions, you can go to a psychology course maybe and to deal with people, but there's no specifics like law enforcement, the cops on the road, they have college that they can go to. Fire departments have college courses that they send their guys to, fire theory and things like that, but there's nothing for dispatchers.
Wow.
So it's all on the job
So
training.
not even like psychological training, like, hey, here's how you can compartmentalize these things. Just, hey, go take these calls and
Take these calls. And when
Holy
I
smokes.
started, you have to understand, it was 1992, so we didn't talk about mental health. It was, if you can't handle this job, this isn't the job for you.
Wow.
So
Well, now we know a lot different.
we stuffed things down and down and down. My first officer-involved shooting wasn't until after 2000, which I'm thankful for.
Why?
Because I had the time in, so I was able to have my own coping mechanisms. They may not have been as healthy as they should have been, but I had some of that. Plus, I had 1996. I met my current husband, and he was the kind who let me talk when I got home. So it was nice to just kind
And you
of
needed that.
vent some of that stuff out.
Did you go through the specifics, like, of the calls?
Oh,
or-
yeah. I would get
really?
graphic
And he could
with
handle
him.
that?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Well, that's amazing you had that
He's
resource.
an amazing person.
Wow. Do you think most people are good?
I think so. I mean, deep
think so,
down,
too.
deep down inside, when you're talking to people on the worst days of their life, and I've been guilty of not being nice or polite
All
or
of us. Yeah.
on a bad day. So you just kind of got to give people grace.
I love that. That's really cool. Was there a call that changed your life?
Yes,
Are you comfortable sharing that?
absolutely.
Okay.
October 23rd, 2019, I was the lead dispatcher for the busy radio channel and dispatched
The what channel?
the busy channel. So the West Slope
okay.
channel.
Yeah. Okay.
We called it busy because everything happened on there. So I dispatched my units to a prowler in a marijuana grow. And had what I called dispatcher spidey sense. And I said, I need extra people. I'm going to need extra people on this. So I sent an extra unit down.
that's use of intuition, which is very strong in women. What triggered that? Or was it literally just a feeling?
It was just a feeling.
Wow.
There's sometimes you just get that where
Did you
it's
feel it
just,
right here? Like a squeeze?
yeah, you just kind of go, well, because it was in an outlying area of the county, and the next closest unit would have been 30 minutes away had they asked for help. So it's like, we'll send an extra unit out there. We don't know what's going on. The guys get out there, they're talking to the caller, and come to find out that it was people in the grow that the caller said were coming to steal his crop. The actual truth was he was growing for the cartel, and he didn't want to give them his product,
Oh, got
and they
cold
came
feet.
to take it.
I wouldn't say no to the cartel.
My guys walked into an ambush. And I lost a deputy. Worst night of my life. I had never lost a deputy up to that point. We've had officer-involved shootings where everybody came out fine. We had one in 2007 where 3 of our deputies were shot, but nobody was killed. But this one was bad. And so right after that, I started showing symptoms of PTSD.
What symptoms?
A lot of anger. I was just angry at the world. There was a lot of things that happened that the media got a hold of that they shouldn't have got a hold of. So I'm at home watching the news, seeing what's going on, and I'm hearing my voice. The same day that this happened, and those tapes shouldn't have been released yet. And they weren't. Somebody recorded them off of the scanner app that they had.
Oh, wow.
And then released it to the media. So that was kind of a little bit worse too, because that was actually, I'm hearing it and I'm reliving it in my head immediately while I'm trying to process all that had happened the night before. So that was really difficult.
And are you on the line while all the fighting is happening? Or once you put the code in, does it just transfer to them and you move on to the next call?
So I was the actual dispatcher that was running the radio at the time.
Okay.
So I'm listening to the guys out there, and I'm listening to the actual gunfire on the radio that was happening and trying to get them the help that they needed. Where this happened in El Dorado County, Amador County was really close. So, I'm yelling to my partners to go call Amador to get some more people up there. And then basically I turned around and said, send me the world. And, it starts off a process where they call for mutual aid and things. So,
And they won that battle after that?
we were able to arrest both the suspects, yes. It took a couple hours to get the second guy, but we eventually got him.
So then do you get like the rest of the shift off after that? Like, do they say go
yes.
home or do you okay.
So kind of rolling back in the olden days when I first started, dispatchers didn't get that. It was you suck it up and come back to work the next day, where cops would get at least 3 days off. We would get nothing. This is specific incident. We were able to get, it was kind of the end of our work week anyway. So we got the rest that next night off, and then we didn't have to be back until the next week. But we were told take as much time as we want.
That's good.
Which was good.
Yeah.
When I got home, I immediately called and made an appointment with my therapist on an emergency basis.
Through the police department or
through Kaiser?
Okay. Yeah.
Kind of going back a little bit, 2015, I started my mental health journey. I had open heart surgery in April of 2015.
Wow.
And developed it's called post-perfusion syndrome, which kind of is like brain bleeds, and it makes any depression or anxiety or anything that you have just kind of explode. So I had some lovely friends at Dispatch who recognized that there was something wrong and got me to go get help. So I started doing that in 2015 and learning coping skills, healthy coping skills. And
and it helped?
it helped. I mean, I was doing okay in 2019, but then Kaiser cut off I had a weekly support group that I was going to, which kind of kept me even.
Sure.
I wasn't doing the ups and downs, but had this happened and I had not had all this mental health training, coping skills, already a therapist, I don't know how I would have handled this one incident.
Wow. Does it still get to you today?
Every once in a while now. We just passed the 5-year anniversary. So that one was a little bit difficult. October, we lost a lot of people in October. The Oakland had, I believe it was 5, about 10 years ago, that were killed.
Wow.
So, it kind of, there's a lot of different ones that hit in October. And so it's just a real, not a fun month.
No. How long were you angry for after, and what resolved it?
Probably 3 or 4 months. But you have to understand, too, we went in 2019. I was trying to get help, and then we went into 2020 with COVID. So you're taking all these people and shoving them into we're coming to work, we're sitting in a box. We can't really go anywhere from that room. And then you're going home and staying in a box. You can't go out. You can't, I couldn't go shopping. Retail therapy is always a good one.
That's so
I couldn't
crazy
go
that
shopping.
happened.
I couldn't see my therapist in person. Even doctor's appointments were online. So it was a forced isolation upon I was being isolated just from the PTSD. I was isolating myself, but then all of a sudden you have, society is telling you you need to isolate. So
Sure.
I couldn't go on walks. I couldn't go, because they told you to stay home.
Wow.
So there was no way to get out and go clear my brain. So yeah.
Wow.
And the world was trying to figure out telehealth and things like that. And so I lasted about a year before one of my other supervisors said, "We think you need to go on workman's comp."
Wow. And what were they seeing?
They were, I was withdrawn. I was doing things at my job that I wasn't doing before. I don't know what when people go, "Well, you're winding yourself up," and you're going, somebody explain to me what this is looking like, because I don't see it. I'm just sitting there. And so I think that was the best thing, though, was going on workman's comp. And the psychiatrist signed me out. And in October of 2020 was the last time I was in dispatch.
Oh, so you have not gone back? Do you want to?
No.
Yeah.
I've been deemed permanently disabled by workman's comp.
Yeah. I know when you were talking about it, I saw your breathing change, and
Yeah.
that's not an easy thing to live through.
No, but I think the smartest thing I did was make that decision to retire.
Good. So psychiatry, did that help?
Yes,
It did.
it did. And with Kaiser, I only see them every 6 weeks. So I'm kind of like, what do I do? What can I do? So, my husband told me after 6 months after I retired, he said, take 6 months, go enjoy not working, get used to your new schedule. I actually took a vacation by myself, which
Wow.
was awesome. I did cheesy things like go and see the last remaining Blockbuster video store in Bend, Oregon.
I worked at Blockbuster. That's funny.
Going to a Bigfoot museum in Boring, Oregon. I went up visit my brother in Seattle, visited a friend in Long Beach, Washington. Took my time driving home and just clearing my brain. It was
great.
wonderful. I recommend it to everybody.
Yeah, but being alone is underrated. People need to get used to that. It's hard at first, especially if you're someone that's used to being hyper connected and constantly checking social media. The concept of just going and being by yourself can be very overwhelming.
Just sitting and driving and listening to a podcast, not even music, just listening to a podcast and getting in that conversation. It was awesome.
Did you ever see or experience miracles in that job?
Yes.
Unexplainable type stuff?
Unexplainable stuff. My very first night working at El Dorado County,
Okay.
we get a call about a naked woman walking along Highway 50 near the area is called Bullion Bend. It's up near Pollock Pines.
Okay. Yeah, I know where that is.
So we sent a deputy out to go find this woman alongside the freeway. Couldn't find it. And he kept going back through there, driving past all night. He just had this weird feeling that there was something different, something wrong.
Yeah.
So he gets up there at daylight and he stops and finds a small child's shoe on the side of the road.
Is that what made him stop, or was it a coincidence?
No, it was a coincidence. He stopped. There's the kid's shoe. He looked down the embankment and found a car of a missing person that had been missing for 3 days. And when he gets down there, the driver was dead, but her child who was in the car seat was still alive. Oh. It was amazing.
That's a miracle.
It was.
That kind of stuff is not a coincidence.
No.
Wow. What a beautiful story.
It was awesome. So I like to think that her spirit or something was walking alongside the road to.
Was it a female driver?
Yeah, it was a female driver.
Holy moly.
So I'm thinking that it was her walking on the road trying to get help.
I think that too. Wow.
But yeah, that was my first night there.
Did this job change or affect your view of God or the afterlife or spirituality? Do you believe in God?
No. I'm more, what would you call this? More agnostic, spiritual.
Okay. So like there's something, but I can't define it type of thing? Okay.
I don't pray. I just kind of go, if we live our lives the way we want to be treated and treat others the way we want to be treated, then that's okay. As long as you live a life well.
Yeah, and that's determined by how other people feel after they interact with you. 100%. I've heard people sum up Christianity as love God, love people. That's it.
Exactly. There's Buddhist writings, there's, all sorts of religions, and, I don't think that there's one specific correct religion.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I think if we take it all in, it's perfect.
Just be good. Just be kind.
Yes.
Do you think there's an afterlife?
Oh, I don't know. Because when I was younger, it used to scare me to die. But now I just want to become that little bit of energy, and I want to go and travel the universe.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. There's some people that say they can do that in this life. More power to you.
More power to you. But let's go visit. And kind of see what was on this world first, and then kind of head on out and go find other things to do.
Yeah. So you do think there's an energy in us that leaves when this body dies? Yeah. That's spirit, soul, energy. Yeah. I think so too.
Did you ever read which book is it? The Da Vinci Code. Who wrote the Da Vinci Code? I can't remember his name now. He wrote another one that was. It went through the U.S. Washington D.C. and part of that was this lady found that the soul had weight.
Is that called 8 Pounds or something?
No, it wasn't 8 pounds. And it was Dan Brown wrote the book. Sorry. I'm old. I can't remember these things. Part of the precept of this was to protect this woman, but she had put this person who was near death into a box. And right at death, the box was sealed, but it was on a scale. And right at the moment of death, the scale went down just this little tiny bit in the book. And it was just so amazing. I was like, wow, that's...
There's a movie on that called something. I think the title is A Weight that they've estimated. That's what it... My wife's an RN. She's been there when people have died. And she said that it is undeniable that when they die, you know it, like in here, and it doesn't look like a person anymore. It just looks like organic matter.
Yeah.
And so... I also believe there's something in us
There's something to it. I'm sure of it.
So why do you think women mostly do this? Women have the ability to tap into a strength that is very rare to see anywhere else. And it probably comes from maternal instinct or childbirth or whatever. Do you think that has anything to do with it? Or is it an organization mind type of thing?
I think it's because we can multitask a little bit better and we like telling people where to go.
Oh, that's awesome. What a great answer. Okay.
That was my license plate frame for many years. Dispatchers tell cops where to go. I never got pulled over when I had that on my car. Don't know why.
Yeah, I wonder. That would I'd love to meet someone that's willing to give a dispatcher a ticket or something.
I've gotten one, believe me.
Have you?
Yes.
Yeah, I guess laws apply to everyone, so I take that back.
Yeah, don't ever drive a red car and speed.
I heard about that.
I've done it. Don't do it.
So now you're doing podcasts, but what is your mission now?
To try to reach out to dispatchers and actually anybody that's a first responder to let them know that they're not alone with their mental health issues.
The PTSD.
PTSD and there's all sorts of... We've all gone through it. People aren't alone. Mm-hmm. And that's what I'm trying to get out there and maybe save that one life. Mm-hmm. There's so many suicides in law enforcement or first responders right now.
Horrible.
2 years ago, there were more cop suicides than there were officer-involved shooting deaths. That's not good.
No, it's pretty high. Have you heard of the Overwatch Collective?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So
I love Greg.
Yes, he was on here. So for people that don't know, there's a service called the Overwatch Collective where you can go and get anonymous free help. Because
Yes.
I know that's another thing that prevents people from asking for help and first responders is you could be deemed like unsafe and maybe removed from the job and you lose your brotherhood.
And depending on the state, like California is not that way. Like when I went to my mental health stuff, they didn't have to report back to my job that I was using mental health resources with Kaiser.
Oh, that's good.
But there are some places that do report back, and that's or at least they used to. I don't think they can anymore. But that's a fear that if you go and you're seeing a psychologist that you're going to lose your job.
Yeah.
Me, on the other hand, when I was out on the street, I would much rather have the guy that's trying to better himself by talking to a therapist than the person that is trigger happy because he can't deal with it.
Yeah. Well, now we know it actually physically changes the brain, trauma,
Yes.
PTSD. It creates the wrong connections, severs good connections. It changes the shape. It's a physical injury. You just can't see it.
Exactly.
And they didn't really know that for a long time.
For a very long time. And then, we've got treatments like EMDR and brain spotting that worked. I just went through with a program called 220. I just went through a therapy with them because my anxiety kind of went out of control these last few months.
Anything trigger
with
it, you
the
think?
world.
Yeah. Do you watch a lot of news and stuff like that?
Yeah, so I've had to... Well, I haven't watched the news since 2008.
Okay. Yeah.
Just because.
I haven't since 2020. I'm with you. Life's a lot better if you can
gross.
cut that out. We're not supposed to know all
but
that bad
I
stuff.
get a lot from social media, And so I've had to cut down on a lot of my social media intake. So Twitter is once a day, though I do TikToks.
Hey, we got to blow off a little steam,
Well,
right?
I do. I'm actually a creator.
Oh,
So
cool.
I do kind of motivational, uplifting stuff.
What's your handle? How do we reach you?
What is my handle on there?
I'll put it in the description.
Yeah,
We'll
I've
find
got,
it.
and so I posted on Instagram and I posted on to YouTube also.
Oh,
So,
cool.
because TikTok was we were down for 12 whole hours and the world went crazy. So I was posting on that's where I did my YouTube and Instagram. It's like, but I need to reach people. And this is how I'm trying to reach people. It's like, you're not alone.
What do you think is different? Like, what's different about the movies versus what really happens in dispatch? I saw a movie
Oh
where...
my gosh.
Yeah?
Oh my gosh. Okay. So, which one? Halle Berry did a movie.
That's the one I was thinking of.
Total.
That's not happening.
That's not happening.
Okay, where she stays on the phone and...
Well, we do stay on the phone, but, she was calling everybody sweetheart. And it's like, yeah, no, we don't do that. And then the show 911 and 911 Lone Star
Okay.
have actually brought dispatch into the norm as part of the first responder community rather than, having a cop show that you just hear a little bit on, a voice on a radio that sends them to somewhere where they're actually doing it. But as far as how they portray it, no.
No.
But it's a good start.
I love it. What's been the most effective tool you've found to help? Well, let me more. When you're having an anxiety attack, have you found anything that like...
Just breathing.
Breathing.
Stop and breathing. I've gotten to the point where I don't go... Give you an example. When we moved to our new house, I was paying my first bill to the county, and I forgot to put in the decimal point and paid them $21,000 out of my account.
That gave me anxiety. I have anxiety now. Just the thought of trying to get it back from some utility company. Oh, boy.
And I was just sitting on the floor, hyperventilating, panicking, going, what's going to happen? And this was even before my PTSD major injury. So I got it to the point where I could call my husband and go, this is what I did. I need you to talk to me. And, I had that much clarity to call him, and he talked me down out of it. But it took me a couple hours to kind of actually finally calm down. But he got me focused enough to take care of the problem. But yeah, that was...
That's worthy of some anxiety, for sure. It takes a long time to save $21,000.
Like, we got it fixed. It cost me about $80, but I got it fixed.
Oh, that's worth it. That's a good return on investment right there.
Yes, it was.
So breathe. Any particular type of breathing, or just remembering to breathe?
Just remembering to take that deep breath and just focus on the breath. Nothing else. Get it, the way the human brain is, you're going to eventually start thinking of other things. You can't, unless you have years and years and years of practice like the Buddhist monks do.
Yeah.
You're still going to have the thoughts.
Yeah.
And you just kind of go recognize when they're going off and you bring them back.
That's, meditation. Yeah. Even the Buddhist monks, I think they get like seconds of thoughtless. I don't think they're sitting there for, it's tough.
But
the brain moves.
I have a group that I go to online weekly now for the last year. It's meditation and journaling, and it's wonderful.
That's awesome. So you're breathing, you're meditating, you're journaling,
yes,
psychiatry, counseling, friends, support groups.
Yes.
You're hitting it at all fronts. I love that.
Yes. The support group, I have one online that I go to every week now, through the Power of Our Story. And they have all sorts of different times and groups that you can attend online that help with that. And it's first responders and veterans, people who get it. There's no technically therapists that come on. There's people that are coaches and stuff that are there, but they come in because they're part of that group also. So,
Well, I just want people to know PTSD is an actual injury.
Yes.
It's a physical injury. Do you have any message to dispatchers that are hurting, that don't want to say anything?
reach out to somebody. There's so many groups out there that can help. Veterans groups are starting to include first responders. Dispatchers are finally starting to be included in that first responder community, finally. Warriors Rest is a good one. The Overwatch Collective is a good one. The Power of Our Story. If it's out there, it's a First Responder Support Network is a website that has multiple resources on it. There's also West Coast Post-Trauma Retreat. Sorry, that one's a hard one.
That was impressive, right?
Very impressive. They do trauma retreats. And I think they're branching out. I think they have one in Kansas or Missouri right now also, other than California. There's plenty of places. First Help, which is a group, suicide prevention, has some retreats that are available. So, it's out there.
Thank you so much for listing all those. That's fantastic. Yeah. Anything else you could want to get out, or a message or story you'd like to tell, or try this tactic? Anything else you want to share?
Actually, I brought 2 books.
Sure.
The first one is...
Hold it up to that.
Hold it up.
There.
Here we go. It's... Okay. Emotional Survival for Law Enforcement by Dr. Kevin Gilmartin.
Okay.
This is the Bible.
Is it?
This is awesome. And anybody that's a first responder, not just cops, but dispatchers, firefighters. It gives tips and tricks on how to cope and telling you what to look for within yourself. And exercise is a big part of healing.
Michael Segru is really big on that. He exercises all the time.
To tell you the difference, my first officer-involved shooting, I had not started walking or exercising at all. And my first officer-involved shooting, I was an emotional mess. Cut to 6 months to a year later, my second one, I had started exercising. We had a wellness program at work, so an hour during our shift we could go and work out, which was great. Hit the treadmill and go out there and do it. I coped so much better with that second one. I wasn't a mess.
Noted.
So it's a big part of it. And then my second book,
Hold it up about face liver.
There we go. Okay. Wounds to Wisdom by
Sarah Carell.
Sarah Carell, but it's actually The Power of Our Story.
Okay.
And there's 29 authors, each doing
awesome.
a chapter.
And it's their personal story.
And it's their personal stories in here.
Kind of like this show. That's cool.
It's
book version.
Really, really cool.
I want to show one too. Gotta get Michael's. So this one's called Relentless Courage. Well, I guess I'll get back to a mic. Hold on.
Relentless Courage by Michael Segru.
Yeah.
Someday we need to do coffee, Michael.
That's right. Yeah, he wrote it with a PhD, and it goes through methods of treatment in detail. And he goes through the emotional experience side and then the medical side and stuff. So fantastic book.
It's awesome. There's so many good books like this out there. You just have to look, type it in Amazon, and you wouldn't believe the amount of stuff that pops up.
Thank you for doing this. I know it's not easy to talk about those things, and this is to try to help people. So I appreciate your bravery and pushing through the emotion and stuff. And thank you for coming on. I know this is way outside of your comfort zone.
It is way outside,
but
this was good. And you don't get better without taking that first step. So
I love that.